Hey everyone, Michael O'Brien here with another episode of Advice for Magicians. This one is going to be a little bit different than we've ever had on this channel before. We are going to actually talk about the ethics of claiming to have supernatural abilities. And I thought that it would be really cool to have someone on this channel who has spent the majority of their time, at least recently, debunking all of these fake psychics out there and shedding a little bit of light on a lot of these claims of supernatural abilities. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about the ethics of whether or not, mentalists and magicians have a duty to, let people know if what they're doing is real or not. But before we jump into this interview, I just wanted to give a couple of shout outs. We have some new Mob Squad members here on the channel. Remember, this channel is sponsored by you guys. So if you would like to support us for just $1 a month, click the join button and become a member. Members will get access to tutorials, early access to videos, emojis, badges, and more. So let's go ahead and welcome our newest members. We have Dark Phoenix 13, the Shadow Riders 3, Alan Bordeaux, Kevin Early, Mike O'Donnell, and Michael Me. Thank you guys so much for joining the channel. All of your love and all of your support really means the world to me. All right, everyone. So as I mentioned today, we are going to be talking and discussing with a good friend of mine, Dustin Dean. We are going to talk about the ethics in claiming supernatural abilities. We're going to talk about what we think of, if it's ethical, if it's unethical, whatever. If you guys have any questions or if you would just like to give us your feedback, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. I will be checking on periodically. I know Dustin will too, because this is a very interesting topic for him. It's so interesting, in fact, he dedicated pretty much most of his TikTok to debunking these sort of like psychic claims and stuff. So why don't we go ahead and give a nice round of applause and welcome Dustin Dean into the chat.
Thanks. Thank
What's up,
you.
dude?
Hello, everyone.
So, before we jump into the topic at hand, Dustin, can you give us just a little bit, sorry, there we go. Can you go ahead and give us just a little bit of background on yourself?
Yeah, so, just like most of us, I'm sure, I started off as a magician, loved magic since I was a little kid, the old story of being, 6 years old, the whole magic kit, all that good stuff. So I've been doing magic since I was really young. I, loved David Blaine. He was one of my biggest influences. And so I did a lot of street magic, right? But kind of made this interesting for me is when I was 12 years old, I saw Darren Brown on TV. And that really changed everything for me, because from then on, I became more of a mentalist. And mentalism really interested me. So I've been doing mentalism for professionally close to 10 years, corporate colleges and more. Do it.
So for those in the audience that might not really know what mentalism is, can you kind of walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, everyone has their own definitions of mentalism. Some mentalists are like pure breed mentalists, and they're like, it's the, nothing to do with magic at all, like totally separate from magic. And, I don't hold that definition. For me, mentalism is simply a performance art that combines different magic techniques to create the illusion of mind reading. That's my definition. That's about it. Using psychology, misdirection, magic, like regular magic tricks, and just dressing them up as something more.
Yeah, so there are a lot of people that say that mentalists will kind of toe the line a little bit because they will present themselves in a more serious manner. Like when you go to see a magic show, like, oh, okay, cool, the magician's going to do some card tricks. We know it's not real, right?
Yeah.
But some people will say, like, mentalists will kind of toe that line a little bit more, where they make you almost believe that, like, they do, in fact, have the ability to, read people's minds and stuff.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that? Like, at what point does it start to kind of become a little bit unethical, where you feel like you're misleading people?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think some people are against disclaimers in their show. I've seen that some people, like for example, Luke Germain. Luke Germain doesn't use disclaimers in his show. He lets the audience decide for themselves. And I think it's a gray area. You know, it's a gray area. You have to like play that line. For me personally, every time I do a show and anytime I perform for someone, this might sound ridiculous, but this is morally, I feel the obligation to let them know that this isn't supernatural. It isn't paranormal. I am using techniques, real world techniques, to create the illusion of mind reading. So I really let my audience know that. And I actually build it into my show and demonstrate that and talk about it. That, you know, this is something that mediums claim they do for real, but here I am doing this, telling you it's not real. As real as it seems, it's not real. So there's definitely mentalists out there that do kind of, they don't really use the disclaimer and they really go on that border of real or not real. But
yeah, it's really hard to say. Like a lot of people, like I said, they don't want to have to come out and say like what I'm doing isn't real because they feel like it kind of breaks the illusion. And I'm okay to a certain extent with people suspending their disbelief and being like, wow, I have no idea how he did that. Maybe he did this, maybe he did that. But it comes to a point where when people are going to make life-altering decisions based on their beliefs and what they perceive, you know, what you're doing is real, that's when it starts to kind of, you know, get a little wishy-washy. And I think the perfect example of this, and this is why I brought up the whole debunk talk thing, and why I really wanted to have you on this channel, because there are a lot of people out there that are falling, I guess, victim or prey or whatever word you want to use. I don't want to be too over dramatic, but they're falling for these people that are claiming, you know, these supernatural psychic powers and things like this. And your channel does a good job of kind of breaking down a lot of these things and showing the public, like, look, this isn't real. It's tricks. So can you kind of explain how you got into this whole like debunk talk thing and how that kind of started and took off?
yeah, so like I said in the beginning, you know, one of my biggest influences right off the bat that I learned from was Darren Brown. And Darren Brown, I mean, if you haven't seen Darren Brown, I'm sure you have, Michael, but, you know, if you're out there and you haven't seen Darren Brown, like, absolutely watch everything you can by Darren Brown because he's fantastic. And he really held that same belief that, you know, mediums and faith healers and, you know, anyone who is using essentially magic techniques to mislead people and claim that what they're doing is real, you know, he was against that, and he would debunk that himself, and he would replicate exactly what mediums do and faith healers do and kind of prove them wrong. And that really all came from, I think it all started really with Houdini, right? Houdini, not a ton of people know that he was a very big skeptic. Like, he was a huge debunker. He did not like mediums or psychics. He too would also replicate what they did, and he even had a challenge set up with his wife before she passed, and they had a little message that they had with each other. And in the event that he passed away, Rosalie, who was his, I think it was his wife, perhaps Rosalie was his, I think Rosalie was his wife. I could be wrong about that. But anyways, that is the message. The message has to do with that, and no medium was ever able to guess it after he passed. And from there, you had James Randi, right? James Randi was a huge Houdini fan, and so much so that James Randi built a lot of his shows based off of Houdini. He was an escape artist, and you know, his claim was like, if a man can build it, he can get out of it. So James Randi, too, just like Houdini, also debunked and exposed psychics and faith healers. And I grew up watching James Randi and Darren Brown, and it became a very big passion of mine. I'm very, you know, a lot of people on TikTok, and they see my videos and they're like, oh, he's just trying to get clout. Like, he's just exposing these people so he gets attention. But literally, you know, obviously, you know, I could just do magic tricks, right? I could just do magic like other magicians and do these corny magic videos if I wanted to and all that. But I don't. And the reason is because I'm actually passionate about this. Like, this is something I'm really passionate about, is stopping these people from using magic techniques to mislead others, because I think it's harmful to the world.
Yeah, it's, you know, like I watched a couple of your debunking videos, and then you tag the psychic or medium or faith healer or whoever in the video, and so you can like go and see their channels and stuff, and you'll be reading the comments, and a lot of the comments are just like, you know, my grandfather passed away a couple years ago, and I think about him all the time, and you know, talking to you was so amazing because I was able to check in on my grandfather to see how he was doing and stuff. And it's just like in my heart, it's like, oh, you know, that hurts to see that these people are taken advantage of. And then you find out even worse than that, these people are paying, you know, these psychics to do this, you know? And can you walk us through, you don't have to do all of them, obviously, because there's like thousands. But can you walk us through like how some of these psychics operate? Because a lot of people are probably wondering, like, how do these psychics like know, you know, that Johnny was so and so's dead relative or whatever, and then like if they don't know that person, you know, how do they know these things that must be real? Can you kind of walk us through some of the different techniques that a lot of these psychics will use to be able to do this?
Right, yeah, and mentalists and mediums, they do use different techniques, obviously, but so many of those techniques intertwine with each other, and we use a lot of the same techniques as each other. And one of those big techniques is cold reading, and many people have heard of cold reading, but a lot of people might not know exactly what that means. And essentially what that means is you are reading someone with no prior information. That means you're not looking up Facebook or social media. However, many mediums and psychics do that. They will look up social media and they will find out any little piece of detail they can so that they can use that later if their reading is failing. That's a common technique, because cold reading is you have no information and you are just trying to read this person and get, I like to call it harvesting information, because you're reading someone, you're getting them to tell you things without them realizing that they're telling you things. And one of the biggest examples of this that mediums like to use is that they'll throw out some basic things, right? They'll start very general and they'll say, I'm getting like someone in your life. I'm seeing someone, a spirit close to you. They look a lot like you, possibly a bit older. Or I don't know if that's just their image, but they seem a bit older. See, they always do that too. They'll always kind of say, I don't know if that's this or that. And they'll cover their bases, right? They always covering their bases. And they'll say, well, I see someone a bit older, might look like you. They're standing behind you. And usually they'll say something about their body parts. Like, I see something with the hands. The hands are darker. I'm not sure if they work with their hands or if they had some type of condition with their hands. They're always mentioning stuff like that. Now, these are all things that someone can say that you can start connecting information. The whole point of cold reading is to get that person that you're reading to connect the information for you. The medium is never coming right out and saying, this is this person, this is the condition they have, this is who they are. They're always throwing information out and getting the sitter to give that information to them. And a really big example is to say, you know, I get a sense that this was someone, sometimes they'll say this was someone younger, right? And if they get the sitter to say, yeah, there's someone in my life that passed. Now, this is an example of harvesting information, because if you find out that the person who passed was younger, you can now later on say, after some time has passed, you can say, the spirit is telling me that they passed in a very sudden and unexpected way. Because what this means now is, yes, of course, if it's a younger person, no one expects a younger person to pass away, right? So it's usually an accident. It's usually some condition that they shouldn't have had and that was very sudden. So that's an example of harvesting information and using cold reading to appear like they know more.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and so there's probably a lot of people that, like I said, they're willing to buy more into this because they have that hurt, or they're looking for answers, or I have this
Right.
guy that I'm dating, and I don't know if I should trust him and stuff. And now these, like,
Right. Yeah.
psychics are like kind of
Yep.
getting into these people's lives and convincing
Right.
them what to do and stuff. Um,
Right.
you mentioned these cold reading techniques and things. Obviously, there is some room for error, and if someone knows what cold reading is and knows these loopholes, they can pinpoint, they can poke holes in these people's claims, which is what you do, and you do it very well. Can you talk about your debunking challenges that you've actually issued to a lot of these people? Have any of them actually taken any of them? And like, how did they go? Like, can you walk us through some of those?
So I've done quite a few debunking videos, obviously, on my TikTok page, and I offer a challenge for $1,000 for anyone who can prove what they claim is real on a live with me under my conditions, right? And the conditions change for each challenge because there's lots of different claims. There's people that claim, in the past that they could start candles with their mind, or that they could put candles out with their mind, or that they could move something under a container. So far, I have had 3 people challenge, take up the challenge and do it under my conditions. The first was a man who claimed that he could. I don't know if you ever heard of the psi wheel, but it's a little pin and a paper on top, and then you put a container over it, and then they try to make the paper spin or move. They try to affect it. Now, the first person who did it, he really, I'm not too sure about this person, because I really think that they believed it was real, like they could do it, because all this time they've been doing it in a way that I think could have worked for them, but under my conditions, I really set it up so there was no other way that this could be possible. I had him put a container, I had him take a book and place it wherever I wanted. Then he put the container over it. He taped it shut so that no air could get under the container, and he was unable to do it. And he tried it for about 30 minutes. And at the end, he said, "You know what? I think you're right. Like, I can't do this. Like, I can't replicate this. So maybe there was something else going on." He was actually really respectful, and we're friends on TikTok even now. The second one was someone who believed that they could make the incense smoke straighten. They lighten incense, and the smoke, when you lighten incense, goes all over, and then they claim they can focus on the smoke and make it straighten. He tried that for about 15 minutes and was unable to do it under my conditions. He also agreed that maybe there was a scientific explanation for it because he couldn't do it. And the third person, again, was someone who thought that they could move the paper under a container. This was the best one. This full live is up on my YouTube, and it is probably one of the best moments I've ever had with it, because this guy would strap a crystal to his head, and he believed that the crystal would amplify his powers. And during the live, I challenged him, and I said, why don't you tape the container and try it? He tried it. He couldn't do it. He called me an energy vampire. He said that I was just sucking the energy from him, and that's why he couldn't do it anymore. And the best part was, my reasoning was, I was telling him was that air, he was going like this, right, at the paper, and the paper started to move a little bit. And I told him that it was air getting under the container because it's not vacuum sealed. It's not, air can still get through there. And he was like, no, see? And he put the container on there, and he started blowing under like where the container was. And he's like, look, it's not moving. And it started to move. And he was like, look, not moving. And everyone on the live was like, I can see it moving. It's moving. And he said, no. And he slammed, he said, and people said I could hit the counter. And he like hit the counter and it fell over. The paper just fell over. And he's like, look, not moving. And it was hilarious. It was really quite a thing.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that some of the people that you issued this challenge to, you know, legitimately were convinced that what they were doing was real. So, in many cases, I would assume a lot of these psychics probably think that what they're doing is, when they're communicating with the dead or whatever, they might really believe what they're doing. And then obviously, of course, you have the ones that are just out there to like scam people and take their money or whatever.
Right.
What is some last like pieces of advice that you can give the viewers here, if they've ever encountered some kind of like a psychic or faith healer or something, or if they have family members that have bought into this and are being, you know, manipulated by these types of people?
Yeah, my biggest advice is to just challenge everything. Never just blindly believe in something. I think that is one of our worst mistakes because we live in an age of misinformation right now. You know, you go on Facebook and you see an article. There's like a million different articles with a million different points. Anything can be, you know, construed in a way that everyone thinks they're getting the right information, but really there's just so much misinformation that no one knows what's right anymore. And that's why I think it's so important just to question everything, challenge everything. Don't blindly believe it. If you have family members that have gone to a psychic and say, no, I know this is real, I've seen this, obviously respect people's beliefs. I think that's important. You know, if someone, and I talk about this on my page, that claims do not equal beliefs. So if someone believes in something like believing in God or religion, that's fine. But as soon as they start claiming things, like claiming they can speak to the dead or claiming they can fly or something ridiculous, that is a claim and it's not a belief and it should be challenged. And if you are someone who, you know, you've seen a psychic and you think they're real, my best advice is to look into mentalism, look into mentalists, see what they do and realize that what they're doing isn't real and yet they're still able to do the same things. And maybe even just learn the techniques yourself. Learn about the techniques so that you can spot the techniques that are being used. That's my biggest advice.
Very cool. Dustin, this has been very exciting for me. Like I said, I was really looking forward to talking to you about this. If my viewers actually want to catch some of this stuff in action, obviously they can find you on YouTube and TikTok and all that stuff. We'll leave links in the description below here. If anyone has any questions, either for me or for Dustin, you guys, of course, are welcome to leave a comment. And myself or Dustin, I'm sure, will be happy to stop in periodically and to answer those questions for you. Dustin, is there anything else that you would like to share with our viewers, or anything else our viewers would find interesting? Any links or anything like that you'd like to plug that they can come find you?
I'd say just, you know, you can check out my TikTok and help join the, I call them the Debunk Talk Army. You know, I can't do it myself. I'm just one person, and you should see, oh my gosh, the messages I get daily from these people that follow these psychics and these mediums. It's insane. I get a flood of negative comments and people who just follow these people, right? And they get very upset. So it definitely helps to have as much support as possible if you believe in this cause, to stop the spread of misinformation. And you can also check out, I have some work as a mentalist. If you want to learn more about mentalism, you know, you can search me. I'm on Penguin Magic and all that stuff. I have some products out there to teach you more about mentalism.
Very cool. Like I said, we're going to link it up in the description below. And again, Dustin, I wanted to thank you so much for appearing here on the channel and filling us in on the whole world of debunking fake psychics and stuff. So, yeah, like I said, if you're on the fence, viewers that are watching us, if you're on the fence and you're not sure if what you're doing is ethical in terms of like performance and stuff, the way that I always see it is, as long as you are not misleading people into believing that the things that you're doing are real, then there shouldn't really be any problem with it. Like, I've had people say, like, do you have to have a disclaimer? Dustin is mentioned in this interview that he puts one on there, just especially if you're doing mentalism, because like I said, a lot of people think, mentalism is a little bit more, in depth in the types of things that you do than like doing card tricks and stuff. So if you're not sure, always err on the side of caution. And if you are someone that has encountered some of these psychics or something like that, and you don't know what to believe, like Dustin said, look into it. There's a lot of literature out there, and watch. There we go. That's what I was hoping wasn't going to pop up. Here we go. That time limit thing. Watch Dustin's videos, but also look into, I'll leave some links in the description, look into some of James Randi's stuff, because he does a lot of these, and he was doing these on TV too, having
Absolutely.
psychics and faith healers and, all these types of people appear and, attempting to do what they claim they could do under test conditions. So really interesting stuff.
Absolutely. I would definitely recommend, speaking on James Randi, he has a documentary called An Honest Liar. The whole thing is on YouTube, I think, and on Voodoo, which is like an app, a streaming app. It's on there for free. It is an excellent documentary, and I think a must-watch for everyone.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for being here, Dustin, and look forward to seeing some more debunking
Thanks
stuff.
for having me.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have not already done so, please make sure to click the subscribe button and don't forget to ring that notification bell so that you guys will be alerted anytime I upload new videos. We're also going to be doing some really cool giveaways and some contests with prizes on this channel. If you would like a chance to enter and win a prize, please visit our community tab and check out our latest contest.